What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott, and how apparently he turned down a $30 million a year contract. So let's see what they have to say about that.
Should Dak have a problem with $30 million per year?
He should. I don't know that that's the issue anyway. I don't know that $30 million a year is what Dak is turning down. We have to establish two things, first of all. The devil's in the details.
Yeah.
Who knows how much guaranteed money is offered in this contract?
That's what it's all about, yep.
And we don't know what Dak is actually turning down. Is he turning down $30 million a year on average? I don't know. Let's find out some more information first. Second, Mike Lombardi seems to think that the ranking of NFL quarterback salaries is a ranking of NFL quarterbacks. It's not, and don't mistake it for such. If it were, I would ask you right now, hey, is Kirk Cousins the sixth best quarterback in the NFL?
Nope.
No.
But he's the sixth most highest paid quarterback on a yearly basis. How about Matt Ryan, fifth best quarterback in the NFL? That's an easy no. Come on. And yet he's the fifth highest paid quarterback on an annual basis.
You're talking about a former league MVP and an MVP candidate. He put up MVP caliber numbers last year, even though they had a bad season because of all those injuries.
All right, is Carson
He's
Wentz?
third overall in guaranteed money, too, and that's what really matters.
Is Carson Wentz the fourth best quarterback in the NFL?
I don't think so, not yet.
No, not
but
yet.
his upside, they paid him for his upside.
And yet he makes the fourth most of any quarterback in the NFL on an annual basis at $32 million a year. It's not a ranking.
So I think there's two ways to look at this for Dak Prescott. So if the current market and trend is to be paying the next quarterback or whatever quarterback has his contract up to be the highest paid quarterback, if that's the current trend and that's the current market that's going on, then I don't see why they should break that for Dak Prescott. He should be able to be paid the highest paid quarterback because he's the next one signing his contract. But on the other hand, I can see how people could complain about that and maybe don't think Dak Prescott deserves all that amount of money because it's not like he's been to a Super Bowl. It's not like he won a Super Bowl like some of the top tier quarterbacks. So having the Cowboys offer him $30 million is roughly in a ballpark of pretty much what he's worth, give or take a million or $2. So I can see both arguments. And as far as what Will Kane is saying, I definitely think that we need to find out what is said in his contract, because Dak Prescott may accept this $30 million contract, but he may not like the way it's written. So because we don't know what type of guaranteed money. Is he going to get $20 million guaranteed? Is he going to have a bunch of clauses in the contract where he's going to have to do break all types of records in order to get that $30 million? We don't know the types of things that are written in that contract. So I don't know. I can see all ways of looking at this, but let's continue.
What you make is not where you currently sit in the NFL. Dak Prescott is hitting the market at this time, and the market says that a starting quarterback makes more than $30 million a year. Stephen A., he has a legit reason to have a problem with this offer.
I don't think he does. Here's why. Let's look at these numbers. First of all, I'll give you the numbers because I have them right in front of me, all right? Russell Wilson's at $35 million this year. Ben Roethlisberger's at $34 million this year. Aaron Rodgers at $33.5 million this year. Matt Ryan's at $30 million this year. Kirk Cousins is at 28. Carson Wentz is at 27.7. And Jimmy Garoppolo is at 27.5. So that's their salary for this year. When we talk about guaranteed dollars, just to throw this out to you, Carson Wentz is top of the list. $109.8 million guaranteed. Russell Wilson's second at $107 million. Matt Ryan's third at $100 million. Aaron Rodgers is fourth at $98.2.
So just a quick side note, all of these guys up there on the screen have been to at least one Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl, except for one guy, and I do believe that's Matt Ryan. So that's food for thought when you start thinking about Dak Prescott's contract, who's never been to a Super Bowl. So let's continue.
Million. Matt Stafford is his fifth at $92 million in guaranteed dollars. That's the list that we have. So let's look at it this way. When we talk about $30 million, there's no definitive category, because if it was definitive, if it was lock solid, then obviously Matthew Stafford wouldn't be up here. Aaron Rodgers would be hired, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. But the operative word here is problem. To have a problem with $30 million per year, the devil's in the details, we know, in terms of guaranteed dollars. That's my only question about it. But in terms of $30 million in annual salary, if you are Dak Prescott, that should certainly be enough for you. There should be no qualms about being offered $30 million a year. I think that has to be about the guaranteed dollars. And if I'm him, I'm looking at a guy like a Carson Wentz, and I'm saying, excuse me, Carson Wentz gets $109.8 million in guaranteed dollars. So I definitely might deserve something along those lines. But when we say $30 million, Dak Prescott ain't worth more than $30 million. I think he's worth at least $25 million. I think because of Matthew Stafford, he definitely should get more than $27 million. But if I feel that way, when you talk about $30 million, all right, Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, you ain't those dudes. You ain't those dudes.
So first of all, no human being should have a problem with $30 million a year.
Right.
$30 million a year is ridiculous in any line of work.
Sure.
Anybody that has a problem with $30 million a year needs to get their priorities reset.
I don't have a problem with the salary. I have a problem with Uncle Sam and his taxes, but that's a different subject.
I hear
for
you.
another day.
Well, Will Kane, that's such an old argument, okay? So if the market commands that an NFL player or anybody can be paid $30 million a year, then that's what they'll get, okay? It seems like a lot. But if this player is getting paid $200 million a year and you're only getting paid $30 million a year, you're being cheated. Okay, it's all relative. It's all relative. And like I said, that's an old argument. If the market commands that somebody working at McDonald's can make $30 million a year for flipping hamburgers, then that's what it is. That's what they deserve. And there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. I just had to say that. But, and again, like I said, if the market says that Dak Prescott should be the highest paid quarterback because he's the next one in contract, then I can see how he wants to fight and have his contract be honored because he's the next one in line. It doesn't matter if you don't think he's good enough. It doesn't matter if he really isn't a top-tier quarterback. The market says that the next quarterback up should be getting paid, be the highest paid quarterback. So let's continue.
About 15 minutes on that.
That's right.
However, I'm glad you brought up Carson Wentz. My numbers say, by the way, Carson Wentz makes $32 million a year on average.
Okay.
If Carson Wentz makes $32 million a year on average,
yeah, I didn't have that.
Then Dak Prescott should expect every bit of $30 million plus. He should expect Carson Wentz money. What argument does Carson Wentz have over Dak Prescott? In fact, I want you to look at something, Stephen A. I had this drawn up. This is head-to-head. This is Dak Prescott versus Carson Wentz over the first 3 years of their career.
Well, you can look at it that way, but let me...
Hold on, walk through it with me, would you?
Sure. Okay.
Which one does Carson Wentz win on? Not on winning percentage, not on QBR, also not on quarterback rating, which is 96 to 92. Touchdown to interceptions, Dak throws few interceptions. And by the way, that doesn't include his rushing touchdowns. Completion percentage, yards per attempt. Everybody tells me Dak is dink and dunk Dak.
Yes.
His yards per attempt are higher than Carson Wentz.
Yeah, but you're looking at it strictly from a numbers perspective, and I respect where you're coming from. But my point to you is that you, of all people, should know this argument, being the Cowboy lover that you are. Everything comes and goes with Ezekiel Elliott, according to them. Now you have a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. Obviously, you're going in a different direction where you got Amari Cooper finally a number one receiver, which is something that you didn't have that before because even a few years back, Des Bryant was that dude. And then you had others like Cole Beasley and others that weren't going to measure up. But you got a legitimate number one now in Amari Cooper. You got an upgrade, rather, from a Cole Beasley to a Randall Cobb. You've got a security blanket in the tight end spot that you didn't have last year because Jason Witten's come back, even though he's slow as snails. The bottom line is he's always open, and he's been perceived as being very reliable in terms of short yardage situations. So if you look at those things, and you're clearly going in the direction of throwing the football more, if they had done this already, and Dak Prescott had proven himself, you would have a more valid point.
No, but he does have a good point. Like I said before, this is not the time for Jerry Jones to be cheap and save $2 or $3 million because he doesn't want to pay that to Dak Prescott. This is not the time to be cheap because the Dallas Cowboys are stacked, like what Stephen A. just said. Those boards are stacked, and they're as stacked as they've ever been for probably the past 20 years. And now is not the time to be cheap and not pay out money. This is the time to give all the players on the team whatever they want so you can go into next season firing all cylinders and make a good run to get back to the Super Bowl. Because these Cowboys might not look this good again in Jerry Jones' lifetime because he's already like 98 or somewhere around there. I don't know how old he is. But now it's not the time to be cheap. You give anybody and everybody on that team what they want because the Cowboys are stacked and they're ready to make a Super Bowl run. This isn't the time to be cheap. So let's continue.
Themselves. Look,
I like Dak.
I know you do, but listen.
I'm not trying to give the impression that he doesn't deserve money.
Carson gets $32 million a year and $100 total. Dak gets it as well.
But you can't look at it that way. And the reason why I say you can't look at it this way because you got to take into account how you're utilized. If you are the Philadelphia Eagles and it's Aguilar and it's Jeffries and it's Zach Ertz and these boys, and you're flinging that football all over the field and you're leaning on your quarterback heavily, as long as I get you in the same ballpark as a Carson Wentz, I have respected you. But I'm not elevating you because we don't ask of you what the Eagles ask of Carson Wentz.
Considered to have more upside.
No, they kind of are, but it's in a different fashion of what they're asking Dak Prescott to do versus what Carson Wentz is being asked to do. So Carson Wentz is asked to be the main guy, the main quarterback to really take care of everything. He's the field general, and it's the same thing with Dak Prescott, but he has more weapons. But without Dak Prescott, again, you're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. Just like you won't make it to the Super Bowl without Zeke. Just like you won't make it to the Super Bowl without Cooper or Witten or any of those guys. So, like I said, the Dallas Cowboys are stacked right now, and now is not the time to be cheap and not pay Dak Prescott because you think, oh, well, we don't ask you to do the type of things that Carson Wentz was to be asked to do. When in actuality, you are, because you're asking him to be a vital key of a Super Bowl team that could be the Dallas Cowboys next year. So you got to save that argument. So let's continue.
I too.
Carson Wentz. And Molly, you know how much weight that carries in every discussion we have at this table. It's like his draft status, his public perception.
Right.
People in the know, people I respect, like Louis Riddick, all will tell you Carson Wentz is that dude. But what I'm telling you is, and if they could throw it up one more time, the one that matters in the end, that graphic is the small print at the bottom. Their record against each other, Dak, 3-1 against Carson Wentz. Hold on. Obviously, Carson Wentz by correlation 1-3. Playoffs, Dak's been 3 starts in the playoffs. Carson Wentz 0-0 in the playoffs.
Because he's been
injuries.
Well, is that not a huge one when you're giving out $32 million a year? By the way, I don't think that's dismissive. That's the final check mark.